James Fishback, right, well-known investor, he proposed 20% of all waste, fraud, and abuse that Doge cuts from the budget goes to us, to our families, 79 million of them, okay? So that's the sell. If they hit their savings target of $2 trillion, each of our families gets $5,000. Now, the problem is what? The if, right? Nevertheless, never one to dodge a dicey situation. Elon hears the idea, tweets that he'll take it to the president. Next thing you know, we hear this.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens.
All right, so the first issue is the president's maths. Okay, they're off because he only counted up 40%. He would still have 60% of whatever they find that he'd have to do something with, but that's not the problem. Here's the point. Everybody wants a check from the government. This is an easy sell. The idea of hating on the idea is a mistake for the Democrats or anybody else. Why? Because everybody wants a check. The right question here is, are you overpromising and setting yourself up to underdeliver? I feel like you might as well say the check's going to be for $50,000, because the assumption you're making about what you'll spend and save is outlandish. All right? And again, growing up in politics, I'm telling you, and you'll get this as soon as I say it. The last thing you want from a politician is to overpromise and underdeliver, right? Now, why would I question the assumption? $2 trillion in waste. Not only have we never seen anything like it, literally, if you take the last three administrations together, they didn't find anything like it. Let's just look at getting to half their goal. They say $2 trillion, I say $1 trillion. You'd have to get rid of the Department of Education, the Department of Justice. You'd have to stop all foreign aid. You'd have to cut Social Security by 25%, cut Medicare by 20%, and cut defense by 10%. And you'd still be $60 billion short of $1 trillion. Okay, so look, I love the idea of finding waste. I think that Trump seized on low-hanging fruit here, and it was smart to bring in an outside disruptive force. But if you think you're getting heat now for the price of eggs, promise a check for $5,000, fail to deliver, and you're going to feel it at the ballot box. Or is it a genius move? Let's bring in two men with their own opinions, which will almost certainly be different, if not better, than mine. Stephen A. Smith, host of the Stephen A. Smith, of course, and the one and only Bill O'Reilly right next to me. And our seats have been adjusted so that I strangely look taller than he does. How do you like that, Stephen A? How do you like that little trick I pulled there on your boy?
What's up? What's up, fellas? It's pretty hard to look taller than Bill O'Reilly, but I see you trying. He is much taller. We have a big announcement to make. We'll do it right after the first break. But let me ask each of you guys to kind of break down. I said before the show, Bill, that there's a political trap in this. Don't hate on the idea of sending people a check. Everybody wants a check for the government. But do you believe there's risk here in terms of not delivering?
Look, I don't want a check from the government. I won't take it.
I'll take your check. Done.
No, I wouldn't give it to you. Not giving it to you. And the little chair trick, I did not know about that. And he has extra makeup to look better than me, too.
Yep, full coat of paint.
And then no one knows why Stephen A. is in Miami. And Stephen A. doesn't know why he's down there. He just went. But anyway, I don't like this deal, because I think that any waste has to come off the federal debt, has to go back to the Treasury. That is the big story that nobody wants to pay attention to. I don't think you'd be sending checks to anybody at this point in history. You got to get that debt down. That's what Doge should be doing. Get the government spending under control. Wipe the departments out that don't deserve to be there. Department of Education, we don't need that. Trump is right. Get it back to the states. I pay my school taxes locally. School board runs it. Why should there be a Department of Education? Unless there's some kind of illegality going on where a school would ban a certain race, but then you can let the Justice Department handle that. So this gimmick, and it's a gimmick, and I don't like that. Just get the budget under control, Congress, and cut out the waste, put it in the Treasury, bring down the debt and deficit.
Stephen, how do you like to play?
I completely agree with Bill on this, and I love the fact that he pointed out Congress, because if you really, really think about it, that's where the real problem lies. You've got to have people in the House of Representatives that have some guts, that know how to think for themselves, that remember where their principles lie. If you're a conservative, what are the kind of things that you preach about? Yes, you preach about free market capitalism and what have you. You also talk about cutting down our debt. Well, this is an opportunity to do so, since Trump is bloviating out there that's exactly what he intends to do. Well, hold him to it. You definitely have the power to do that, as opposed to really being complicit and acquiescing to anything that he wants. I don't think that's the wisest play in the world. The other thing that I want to bring up, that I think this old bait and switch, to be quite honest with you. I think that it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Trump is doing a lot of talking, but in the end, I think he's trying to bait the Democrats into acting a bit juvenile, being a bit acerbic and truculent with their language. As a result, coming across as very irritating and of the mindset that, as I've said repeatedly over the last several weeks, they still sound like they're in campaign mode, still spewing the same kind of stuff that you were trying to spew when you were attempting to prevent him from becoming the 47th president of the United States of America. That ship has sailed. He's in office now, and you have to let him act, see what he's going to do, and judge him accordingly, as opposed to reacting to everything that he says. But he knows they're going to react to what he says, because they think that's the kind of thing that can galvanize folks out there to see their way of thinking, and as a result, it will turn them against Trump. They are wrong. It will not work, and I think that he's playing that game. We'll see if they give into it.
One observation, and then I want to take it a step deeper down this hole. The observation is, the biggest word you use on this show, Stephen A. Smith, is mayonnaise, okay? Truculent, way too big a word. Don't be bringing your sesquipedalia into my house. You understand? I don't want to have a thesaurus next to me so I can understand what you're saying.
And I
got to teach you.
I need one from y'all.
Yeah, I don't know what trucks have to do with this.
I know.
If you're anti-truck, you get more money.
We get it. Stephen A's got a problem with trucks. He's a sports car.
I don't know what the trucks are.
He's a sports car guy. Everybody knows. I see him in the convertible with his wind blowing through his hair. Now, I think you guys are greatly underestimating Trump's desire for the gratification of giving people a check. I mean, you remember how he signed the pandemic checks so that people knew they came from him? Yeah. The idea that he could send people a check in America, the gold that is politically, and the amazing bait that it is for Democrats, because they're already doing it. You guys are both right. The Democrats are jumping on this and saying this is crazy, which doesn't hit right with people, even though they may never deliver. Now, the idea of getting the budget down, getting the budget under control. Yeah. But he's not doing that with his proposal. He doesn't want to touch the entitlements. He wants his tax cuts, and he's about $1.5 trillion off, where his own party wants him, Bill. So is Trump the problem of the goal that you stated?
Well, we'll see, because it is a fantasy to believe that you're going to have revenue to offset a tax cut. So it really isn't a tax cut. He just wants what he had. It's ongoing. That's what will happen. And Congress will pass that. So they'll extend the Trump tax cuts, because working Americans can't pay any more taxes. And the Democratic Party doesn't quite understand that, but people are up to here. They can't pay any more tax. Trump understands that. But as I said, this is a little gimmicky, all of this Doge stuff, but I like Doge. I like it. But I want it to be run very methodically and in a very clear manner with very few mistakes.
Well, then you're not happy this far.
Well, I'm giving it a 70%.
Where I was going, Chris.
Go ahead.
Then you can't be happy.
70%.
Then you can't be happy, Bill. Bill, you just finished saying you want it to be run methodically. Yeah. That's what you just said.
That's what he said.
Clearly, that's not Elon Musk.
Nope.
Well,
that's not Elon Musk.
Wait.
So again,
I don't know if that's fair. He's only been doing this for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Let's give him a little time. I do believe that he should be very cautious in his public statements, and sometimes he isn't. You're correct there. But 3 weeks, come on.
Well,
let's see how it evolves.
Well, punch your way out of the corner, Stephen A. Punch your way out of the corner. Don't let him put you in.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on, Bill. Well, I'm not in the corner, because Bill said I was wrong, but then he said I was right. So hey, I'm not in the corner at all. Here's the deal, Bill. You talked about him being meticulous and what have you.
Yes.
You said it's only been 3 weeks.
Yes.
he has to be careful about how he speaks. He has to be careful about how he conveys and disseminates a message to the masses. He can't be doing that. He just can't be talking willy-nilly. He can't be coming up with stuff about Social Security that's wrong, that Guatemala that's wrong, and other things. You got to be on point. You got to be precise. You've got to be accurate, because in the end, if you're not, plus you're bloviating in the Oval Office like you are the right-hand man of the president, which he is, which is scared the living hell out of a whole bunch of American citizens. Why? Because he's not an elected official. He's not somebody that's a member of Trump's cabinet that's been confirmed by Congress or by the Senate or anything like that. He's a special advisor to the president who seems to capitulate and acquiesce to every single thing he wants done. And so when you're doing that, but then you're coming out and you're not accurate, and on top of that all, you're a bit loose with your language, that's not the kind of person that I know Bill O'Reilly to stand up for.
I want him to be
that's
precise.
Not the Bill O'Reilly I know.
I wrote on X that I want the leader of X, I wrote on X, to be more precise in his language. Look, but the Democratic Party is going to hate whatever Trump Musk does. They're twins now. They're like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Made in that movie?
Which one, Schwarzenegger?
That's like Musk and yeah.
Which one, Schwarzenegger?
I don't know.
That's
they're
a key
twins.
question.
So everything that they do is evil.
Good question.
Right. Even if they cut $1 trillion out of way, that's evil.
I know.
That's evil.
That's the trap.
Right.
That's the trap.
And so everybody should just step back. And Harry Hopkins, and I know Stephen A. is a big Harry Hopkins fan, used to play point guard for Golden State. He ran the FDR government. You guys should go to BillO'Reilly.com every morning and read the message.
I'm blocked.
Why? Why are you blocked?
I tried to get BillO'Reilly.com. It says you're not allowed on the site.
Well, that's because of you. But have your wife do it. She can get right on.
She's a charter member.
But FDR had Harry Hopkins and a whole bunch of other guys.
I'm not against kitchen.
Right? And JFK had O'Donnell and all the Boston
I'm
guys.
not against it. Look, there's so many better minds outside of government than in it. I don't have a problem with that. I get why it bothers the establishment. It doesn't bother me. I think they're protecting the wrong things. Help me understand something else. I was going to jump on, but I'm not, because it's too small ball. The game they played in court where they said that Musk doesn't work for Doge.
Yes.
And that he's not in charge of it, that he's something else.
Right.
That bothered me, but not enough. I don't understand. I don't know if Dusty has sound of the president to capture some of what he's been saying about Ukraine, but I literally, this isn't TV feigned confusion. I don't know what he's trying to do here.
All right, I do.
He has called Zelensky a dictator.
Right.
And kind of suggested he started the war and that Russia fought hard for the land that they took from Ukraine, so they should get to keep it.
It's not quite that way. So what Trump wants to do, and I said this even before he was elected, is he wants a ceasefire above all. He knows that he has to flatter Putin to get that ceasefire. That's where you start. He has to flatter Putin. Putin is evil. On the cover of my upcoming book, Confronting Evil, there's bad blood right next to the Ayatollah Khomeini and Mao Zedong, and Hitler's on the other side. Vlad is evil, but Trump wants to deal with the evil merchant. So he has to do two things: butter him up, which he's doing, and tell the world that Zelensky's not so hot, and that Ukraine could have stopped this before it started. You remember Trump going, if I were president, the war never would have started, right? How many times did he say that? 100,000 times? It's true.
100 times.
Okay,
What's
because
true?
Trump would have forced Zelensky to give some concessions. Here's a story that hasn't been, he would have, believe me, because without the United States' $300 billion, Zelensky can't wage war. Anyway, this story has not been reported widely, but Putin just gave a massive concession to Ukraine. Putin says, I don't care whether they go into the EU. They can join the EU.
Just not NATO.
Right. But the EU is everything to Ukraine. If you want to rebuild it, you have to be in the EU. Currency, trade, open borders, everything. Putin gave that up. He didn't give it up to Biden. He gave it up. So you got to, again, pull back and see the big picture. Trump is going to flatter little rocket man. He's going to flatter anybody. And then when they finally get to the deal, who's going to be the greatest guy in the world? Zelensky. He's going to be the greatest guy in the world. You wait and see.
What do you think, Stephen?
But that's one way to look at it. Here's the other, Bill O'Reilly. We know Putin's reputation to the rest of the world, particularly here in the United States of America. Former KGB, obviously has been accused of doing some very, very dastardly and treacherous things that we don't need to belabor getting into. Not only has he done that, but it's obviously, it's considered an enemy of the United States to some degree. Trump praises the very, very dude that most Americans have been sold on being a very evil individual who's committed to doing things that are not in the best interest of to expand Russian territory, one would surmise, along with various other things. There's no question about it.
Why is Trump praising Putin? Why
is Trump? Well, again, he wants to put an end to the war.
Yeah,
that's true, and he wants to look like the hero in order to do so.
He wants a deal.
But he wants the deal. But in the process... But wait a minute, Bill. You've got a guy in Zelensky who America, for the most, not just Democrats, but Republicans to some degree have supported when it came to Zelensky and getting that $300+ billion, okay? And because that's been a reality that they've been willing to accept, all of a sudden Trump arrives in office, and now he's basically indicated the money's going to dry up. We're not interested in supporting you at all in any way.
He's not going to do that. If Putin doesn't make a deal, Trump will be his worst enemy. But this is how Trump rolls.
No, he won't.
Yeah, everybody thinks there's this bromance, whatever they call it.
He has never said a bad word about the guy.
He doesn't care about him. He just wants it to calm down. That's it. You think he's got emotion invested in Putin? That's the last thing on his mind.
Everybody who's ever dealt with Putin, and you know this, you've talked to dozens of them over the years. They all say, what? One way to deal with Putin, strength. Let him know that if he wants a fight, you're ready to fight.
Trump knows he's not going to get a ceasefire unless he makes Putin look good. That's what he knows.
But Putin's on the other side, and he's saying he's calling Zelensky a dictator.
That's right.
And Ukraine was the one that was attacked. Any issue with that, Bill?
I don't
Any issue with that?
Look, it's not true, and that's my issue. But if I'm at the table, if I'm Marco Rubio, am I all upset because Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, said, we like that. Say bad things about Zelensky. And Rubio goes, okay, just make the deal.
Look,
if they make the deal, Zelensky will go on a worldwide tour.
I don't think
Trump will buy him new T-shirts, new fatigues. He'll do all of that.
Why do you believe Zelensky can sell that deal to his people?
He doesn't have to.
They are fighting with their lives over there.
Yes, and they're
now
very
they're
brave.
Give territory to the bad guys?
Zelensky's brave.
He is
brave.
They're
very brave.
They are brave.
But they're not going to defeat Russia. They're not. And everyone knows that. And the polling in Ukraine, I don't even know how you take a poll in Ukraine, says that most people just want it to stop. And that's what Trump is trying to do.
All right, let's take a break, fellas. When we come back, we have a very big announcement to make. Truly, zero hype, nothing like what I'm about to tell you when we come back has been done before. So come back right after the break, have an announcement, talk about the announcement, move on. Does that work with you, Stephen A? I know you got 9 other shows to do tonight.
We need to acknowledge that these veterans were serving in an area where they were exposed to toxic radiation.
Really, I look at it as bravery for NewsNation to pick this up and stick with us for so long and do so much.
I'm so grateful for everything NewsNation has done.
I want to thank you all at NewsNation. Your reporting is beyond reproach, and I thank you for bringing that to my attention because that is not acceptable.
We're eternally grateful to NewsNation and to you.
So what is the best way to counter the silo effect of where everybody stays in their bubbles and they only hear what they've already heard? Conversation is the cure. Contrasting opinions where you disagree, but you do it with decency, and that's what allows people to get to a better place. That is what this show has been all about, and that is why we have a special announcement for you. Put it up there, Dusty, and let people see what we're going to do. The 3 Americans, that's the 3 of us, are going to all be together on Sunday, March 30th, 3 p.m. at the Westbury Music Fair out on Long Island, which is, of course, home to Bill and home to me. All 3 of us are New Yorkers. And we're going to be together on stage and tell people things they haven't heard before and let them hear contrasting opinions in a way they haven't before. Do I have it right?
Yes, you do have it right, but I think people are going to be surprised at how much fun the show is going to be.
You're not going?
That's true. I'm not. I'm going to be in the background.
Oh, okay.
And they're also going to be surprised at the crowd. This is the first time that 3 diverse Americans have been on a stage, and the crowds that follow us are different. And they're all going to come together. We'll have massive security, by the way. And the reason I'm really doing this is that Stephen A. has 2 mortgages. We have to do that. And he's going to be available if he chooses Shaq as his vice president, because as you know, he's running for president.
I've heard it.
That should give the concert, which is what it is. It's a tour. If this works, we're going to come to your hometown, whether you like it or not. You can't stop us. We will come, and it's going to be a phenomenon. So the question is, why did Cuomo do it? And I have to tell this story. I hope you don't mind.
Please.
Cuomo drinks heavily.
I knew it was coming.
He drinks heavily. And I was with him in Sag Harbor, and he was almost on the floor. And I got his right hand and put a pen in it, and I put his name on a contract. Now, he didn't want anybody to know that he signed it when he was out of his mind, but that's how I got him. And as I said, Stephen A. lives in an enormously expensive life.
Yeah, very high on the hog.
Yeah, and we're getting paid for these shows. So we want everybody to check it out. Stephen A., you got any rebuttal for this? You're quiet down there in Miami.
Well, I'm just being respectful. I'm not interrupting. I'm letting you speak, and then I was going to chime in, Mr. Bill O'Reilly. Let me say this. Listen, I'm honored to be a part of this. I travel a lot, an awful lot, and I am far from a political aficionado like you guys are. Been covering it and doing an outstanding job of doing what you've been doing for decades. And I love working with you guys. I love being on the air with you guys. I love learning from you, and I love giving you my thoughts based off of the things that I see as a conscientious observer and what I think the American people in the black community and beyond want to know and want to hear answers to. And the fact of the matter is that Chris and I have come to know each other, and I just think that Chris is just as exceptional as it gets. And I tell everybody, Bill O'Reilly, I know that they don't faint, but I tell them all the time, you are sharp as a tack, my man. You've got your facts. You know what the hell you're talking about, and you bring the rain. And the opportunity to be in the same venue with the two of you is something that I simply could not pass up. I'll bring whatever it is I can bring and what I'm supposed to bring and then some. But under no circumstances do I want people to look at me and think that it's the end all be all in terms of the questions and answers that are thrown in our direction. You guys teach me all the time, teach me every day, and I feel edified anytime I'm in y'all presence. And so it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this, and I can't wait till March 30th. I can tell you that much. I can't wait.
I'm verklept. Listening to that, I'm Linda Richmond.
You're emotional.
But we got to edify along with truculence.
Yeah, he can't stop.
Right. So we're going to have
he's a big word guy.
Somebody at the Westbury Theater with a dictionary.
Dusty will come with the thesaurus.
The words are getting it. Now, you can go right now to 3americanslive.com. And you got to go, because if you don't, it's going to get sold out. I know it is. So 3americanslive.com. Use presale code USA. Get the best seats. But you know what I admire about you, Stephen, is that even though Cuomo drinks heavily and has a lot of flaws, you still try to help him. You are a humanitarian. And I think people need to know that.
Yeah, and not just helping me up off the floor when I pass out from drinking too much. You help me in other ways as well.
Y'all are crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Y'all are crazy.
I'm going to lay out the show. We're going to do 4. It's going to be a 2-hour show. We're going to do 4 topics of the day. And this isn't going to be rehearsed, no teleprompter, none of that.
Oh, really?
It's just going to fly.
I didn't read the contract.
It's going to... No, because you were drunk.
Don't do what we do.
You were drunk. Okay. It's going to fly. And then we're going to...
Stop telling people that.
He could sue if he can back it up. And then we're going to have Q&A. The audience Q&A is going to be hysterical. It's going to be a riot.
So always my favorite part is to hear where people are. And I got to tell you, I'm excited because nobody needs more stuff to do in our lives. But to do stuff that matters is a rare opportunity. I've never been a part of something like this before, and I'm happy about it.
And it's never happened before.
Never. It's first of its kind.
You've never had this kind of diversity. Right now in America, we are choir people. All right? It's choir practice. You watch, oh, yeah, don't disagree. We disagree, but we are friends, and we have fun doing it, which is novel. You're going to love it, and I hope everybody comes to see us. And you can get a picture with Cuomo and Stephen A. I'm kind of camera shy.
Yeah.
At a certain level of ticket purchasing.
Yeah, as long as the booze lasts, then I got to go. Stephen A., last word to you.
Well, I do have one request. I need you both to step your wardrobe game up a little bit.
Oh, come on!
My wardrobe is gonna be on point. Do you understand what I'm saying? I will be ready.
Are you going to have it made just for the occasion?
I wish it was tonight.
Are you going to have it made?
I will be ready.
You know what? You don't have to tell me, because whoever's doing your PR, I'm sure there'll be pieces out in advance about like Armani or something saying that you should run for president. It's going to be like Xenia is going to say you're going to run for president.
I never, ever advertise when I'm working beforehand, or what I'm wearing beforehand. That is always a surprise. You might see me coming in other ways, but not when it comes to my wardrobe. I'm always
they'll
ready.
see you coming based on what you wear. People see you from a long way away.
Just make sure, Stephen A., it's presidential.
Yeah. You got to start thinking about your image.
Right.
I was going to talk to you about that.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly.
Yo.
My name is Stephen A. Smith. And I approve that.
Look at the hand. Look at the hand. He's got the hand thing going. Oh, we got trouble. This is going to be one and done for Stephen.
I'm going to be the advisor. I'm going to be Elon.
We're going to have to go through his people for the next one. Stephen A., thank you very much. Bill O'Reilly.
All right.
All right. You heard it. Get your tickets. Okay. I'll see you there. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Coming up, you heard it earlier. I want to bring in the man whose idea was the Doge dividend. Where did he get it from? Why does he think it happens? Why does he think it's good for America? It's coming in. We'll talk to him directly.
Under consideration, a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens.
Elon, he doesn't even work for Doge. This should be called the Fishback discount. That's the guy who came up with it. It came from James Fishback, an investor who's one of the advisors to Doge. And he said, you know what we should do? When we save all this money, we should give some of it back to the American family. Let's do 20%. We hit our $2 trillion target. That'll be $5,000 each. Sounds great. Musk said, I'll take it to president. So with the president, he loves the idea. Remember during the pandemic, he wanted to sign everybody's check. It wasn't even his money. It won't be this time either. But what a great idea. Can they do it? Should they do it? Let's bring in the man who deserves the credit for the idea, James Fishback. There he is. Could you have ever imagined, when you first suggested this idea, that you would be here with me discussing why President Trump is saying that this is now definitely going to happen?
Well, Chris, good evening. It is a humbling and honoring day to have the president's endorsement on this idea. I'm appreciative of the credit, but I got to tell you the truth. The credit goes to President Trump. Doge, this savings would not be possible without his leadership. We put it to paper, but President Trump is going to be the one to execute it, and he deserves the credit for it.
So, James, Bill O'Reilly doesn't want the check. I want the check. I'll take his check, too. I don't know how it works. But here's the thing. As you know, right, you're an investor, and you know when you sit at the table, people want you to underpromise and overdeliver, okay? The idea, why? Because then they're happy with the surprise. Here, isn't there a concern that setting that target of $2 trillion is way too high, and that people think they're going to get $5,000, but now if you don't get the $2 trillion, they don't get the $5,000?
Well, it's interesting, Chris. I don't think it's actually too high. I think it's totally reasonable. But here's the thing. The Doge dividend check that President Trump endorsed today, that is going to help us get the $2 trillion, and here's why. We're going to incentivize everyday Americans, whether they're in East Palestine or in East Baltimore, to step up and say, there's waste, there's fraud, there's abuse in my community. Report it to Doge. Why? Because the more money the Doge saves, the bigger the Doge dividend check is. Chris, look at how successful Doge has been under Trump's leadership, with just Elon Musk and a dozen engineers eating Chick-fil-A and drinking Red Bull, sleeping in the office. Now imagine deputizing 100 million Americans to be the eyes and ears on the ground. When I was growing up, I took my grandfather, a World War II vet, to the VA for his checkups. And I got to tell you, I saw waste, I saw fraud, I saw abuse. I didn't have Doge to report it to, and I didn't have an incentive to report it. That's not the case with the Doge dividend. Every American can step up, report fraud and abuse to Doge directly via X, and we'll see the savings go up, hit $2 trillion, and we'll see the checks dispersed next summer. And absolutely, President Trump's name and signature should be on it, because this would not have been possible without his leadership.
I like the idea, obviously, of finding waste, fraud, and abuse, and I like to see something, say something extension. As you know, there are lots of different places people can go to alert the government to what's going on. Whether or not they do anything about it is where you're promising that Doge will be different. My other question is, isn't the point, though, what Musk brought up later in the day after the first flush of this idea, which is this has got to go towards the fiscal crisis that this country is in. Everybody wants a check, of course. I'm not saying no check. But what matters more? Sending a check to people or lowering the deficit and trying to make a dent in the trillions and trillions that we owe in debt?
We can do both. We absolutely can do both, Chris. We're $37 trillion in debt, which is why our proposal calls for 80% of that going to pay down the debt and only 20% going directly to taxpayers. Let's not forget, this isn't a handout. This was taxpayers' money that was sent to D.C. in the first place. It wasn't sent to D.C. to then be quickly sent to Myanmar for a DEI musical or Colombia for a transgender opera. It was sent to D.C. to support Americans. And guess what? The American heartland is crumbling. Our roads and bridges are in despair, and veterans everywhere you look are being denied essential health care. And so the American people deserve compensation, deserve restitution. That's the first point. The second point is we need to restore the trust between taxpayer and her government. We can never balance the budget if the taxpayer feels cheated. And guess what? They do, given what Doge has exposed in just the past month. Chris, we're 1 month into Doge, and under Trump's leadership, we've already saved $55 billion. Let's let this experiment run for another year and a half, get to $2 trillion, and send every American a check for $5,000 saying, we are back, the government is accountable, respectful, and honest again. That is what the golden age is all about.
James, I like the messaging. Don't get me wrong. I am a person who's I'm like the doubting Thomas. I only know what you can show. As you know, the Doge website, I know that it hasn't been going on that long. I don't like that argument. Here's why. I'm not talking to you about the price of eggs.
Sure.
Okay? I get that that takes time. The president made the promise he made during the campaign. It never made sense then. It doesn't make sense now. That's on him. He can deal with that. But the Doge website doesn't show anything like what you just said in terms of savings. The way it documents what it does say it found in savings is not compelling. And all of this has to go through Congress to really happen, right? I mean, that is what the Constitution lays out with the power of the purse. Are you getting way ahead of where you guys are? And is there a political price for that?
Well, you're right that the Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution absolutely gives the legislature the power of the purse, which is why it's great to see U.S. Congressman Brandon Gill, for one example, doing good work on the Doge subcommittee and numerous members of Congress in that effort as well. We need Congress in this effort, but we got to be ambitious. The people voted for major government reform in November. They handed President Trump a historic mandate. He has to deliver on it. But major government reform, Chris, is not tinkering on the margins. It's doing big, bold, ambitious things.
I agree.
And so that's what we ultimately have to do.
But DEI in Myanmar is not getting you to $2 trillion. These kinds of pet projects and stuff, I get it. They're low fruit. I get why you call them out. They piss people off. They are not the meat of things. When you guys start going at the Pentagon, then you'll start getting the respect of people who want to see real ambitious government reform. When does that happen?
Happens very, very soon. You're right. We've got to upset the military contractors in and around D.C. It's time to put some folks out of work who eat too much lunch at Capitol Grill. And it's time to actually deliver savings. And you're right. The DEI, the transgender opera, that's real money. But the real money on top of that is going to happen within defense, within the Pentagon, within other parts of government. And ultimately, that's how you drive the savings. Chris, in 2019, we were spending $4.5 trillion a year. Now we're spending $6.5 trillion. We don't have to roll back the clock 30 years or 40 years. We've got to roll back the clock 5 years, get this government in shape, and deliver for the American people.
I don't disagree.
We need a balanced budget.
I don't disagree.
And we need to get buy-in from folks.
Listen, you're definitely right on the last point. The mandate, I don't know that he got an historic mandate. You put together the people who didn't vote for him and the people who didn't vote, and he's underwater. But Republicans don't usually win the popular vote. He did. Given.
He did. And by the way, Chris, he got all 50 states. All 50 states.
No question.
All 50 states moved to Trump, right? In this last election versus 2020. That's a huge mandate.
No question that he did way better than a lot of people thought. We called it first here at NewsNation that night because I wasn't afraid of the outcome. We just want the best for the country. I'll be watching what you guys do at Doge. James Fishback, you are welcome here to make the case. As we learn things down the line, I'm happy to have you come on and make the case. Thank you for doing so tonight.
Thank you, Chris. God bless you.
But I'm telling you got to be a little bit more selfish. It was once called the greenbacks. I think we should be calling this tech the fishbacks. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Up next, Hamas is supposed to release 6 more hostages this weekend. You know there's still an American there, right? You know that they either killed babies or let babies die. Now, I know what you're going to say. What about all the babies that died in Palestine? What about all the babies that died in Gaza? Either you care about all the babies or you don't care about any of the babies. All right? What about the American hostage? What's going to happen with these babies? When do they come home? The Trump hostage envoy. He's got some job. Do you know? That's the American, by the way, on your screen. Do you know how many people from our country are stuck around the world? 6,000. Adam Bowler, that's his job. He joins us next.
Stay ahead of moderate to severe eczema as you welcome the feeling of touch with clearer skin and less itch. The #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists helps heal your skin from within. Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain, vision changes, or blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma or other medicines without talking to your doctor. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
Heavy news of the reality of war. Tomorrow, the bodies of 4 dead hostages are being returned, 3 of whom are the Bibas family, 2 little boys and their mom, all dead under the control of Hamas, now at least getting home to their families. Now, there is still an American hostage, Eden Alexander, that's the guy on your screen, 21 years old from New Jersey. When is he going to come home? Can the Trump administration make that happen? If it can, it is on the shoulders of the U.S. envoy for hostage affairs. His name is Adam Bowler. He joins us now. Adam, thank you for taking time to do this.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Chris.
First, outside your portfolio, then in your portfolio. Do we know, or is there an investigation that must be done into how the Bibas babies and their mother died?
I think eventually Israel will do that, but at the end of the day, first and foremost is they're dead. And why are they dead? They're dead because a terrorist organization attacked Israeli citizens and took them hostage, a baby and the mother and a 2-year-old, and now they're dead. So that's what I know.
Do you believe that the poignancy of that there's a chance that it affects the ceasefire if it becomes clear to Israel that they killed these children?
I think Israel already knew that, and I think Israel already knew that Hamas killed 1,200 people when they came over on October 7th, and that they'll kill more people. So here's where we all need to unite, which is a terrorist organization like Hamas must be eliminated entirely. It doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a ceasefire. It doesn't mean that people are all responsible for it. It means a terrorist organization destroyed the lives of a mom and 2 kids and a father that has to live with that.
Yeah, and the elderly man, Oded Lifshitz, that was there, 85 years old. Now, the American 21-year-old Eden Alexander. Hamas likes to give young men back last. What does that mean in terms of pressure to get him home?
I don't think it's acceptable at all. There is an American that is being held by terrorists. And the one thing I need to know, and I need all Americans to unite against, Democrat, Republican, is that Americans should not be held abroad by any means. I know Edan's dad, I know his mom, I know his family, and Eden Alexander needs to be released, and we need to demand it.
Did you know how many people were being held around the world, Americans, when you decided to take this job?
I did not, and I found it baffling. I don't know why it's not reported that there's 6,000. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And to be clear, some of those people, this is the amount of people being held in foreign prisons. Mm-hmm. Some of them killed people. Are bad guys. So I don't want to say they're all innocent, because they're not. But Americans don't know that, and we're going to be releasing that information. I don't understand why that's not public knowledge. It needs to be known.
What can you say at this point about the likelihood that Eden comes home?
I think Eden will come home. I do believe that in my heart. I believe that. I believe that. I feel it. And I don't want to give unfair optimism, and we need to demand that. But right now, under President Trump, it has become extremely clear that there are massive consequences that will happen. And I will tell you, I will personally hunt all of them down if they touch a hair on his head.
As far as you know right now, he's alive?
Yes, he is alive, and I expect him to be released in the next hostage release. And if he's not, then they'll find out what or else means.
Adam Bowler, I appreciate you always have a platform here to make the case for Americans that are being held around this world. You just let me know.
Thank you, Chris. You're a patriot.
All right, Adam Bowler, appreciate you very much. 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Up next, a little final thought. NewsNation, we work so hard to bring Democratic and Republican lawmakers on at the same time. You ever notice how you don't see that other places? It's because they don't want to do it. Why? Because it's easier for them to blame the other side. So you have to find people who are willing to go outside the game, who are confident enough to come on, who believe enough in something bigger than their own party to do that. It's not easy. We're getting it done, but it's not easy. Why do you see Senator Bernie Sanders, who used to come on with me at CNN all the time, who used to come on with me because I was one of the only people taking him seriously in a presidential context, way before he decided to run. I used to tease Bernie Sanders about, hey, if you care about these ideas so much, why don't you make the case to the country? Why won't he come on NewsNation? Why does he stick to safe harbors? Because he doesn't want to be disagreed with. He doesn't want to take on disagreement. He wants to talk at, he wants to preach to the converted. People don't want their ideas tested. They don't need to. Not in the pod universe where it's all an echo chamber. That's why it was so important to me to show you what can happen when I have Bill O'Reilly on. We do not agree on most things in terms of style or substance when it